started recording. Everybody able to see my desktop? Okay, so let's see. We're going to see. So we are recording. Today we are going to see a concept of user-defined exceptions. We are going to see user-defined exception, and then we'll start stored program units. User-defined exception. Okay, so Oracle provided a lot of predefined exceptions. Every exception is associated to a name and a number along with a condition. So Oracle provided a lot of exceptions. Okay, so and each exception we have seen in the last class, each exception has one condition, okay, and each exception uniquely identified by its name and number. Each exception uniquely identified by name and number. So we have a lot of exceptions. Okay, so Oracle provided a lot of exceptions. Each exception has a unique one condition. So whenever that condition happens, Oracle automatically raises. Okay, so Oracle provided a lot of exceptions, but as a user, as a business, okay, so we might have to create exceptions for own conditions. As a developer, okay, we have to create our own exceptions. We have to create our own exceptions for certain business related conditions. So as a developer, we have to create our own exception. So because for certain business related condition, what is an example? Let's see what are those exceptions. Okay, stop DML operations on EMP table during weekends. See here, so that means whenever a developer try to insert a data into table or update or delete during the weekends, that means either Sunday or Saturday, I don't want to allow to insert a data. I want to stop it. And the second one is no employee should have salary greater than CEO's salary. President salary. So that means in our employee table we have a condition. In employee table we have an employee with a job. See here. Let's make it as I deleted the data. Okay, so in my employee table I have a job president. President means he is the boss in the company. So his maximum salary is a 5,000. So that means all other employees should have less than this salary. So that means whenever I'm inserting a data into employee table, I have to check the condition of the salary, and if salary is greater than 5,000, I have to fail that operation. Okay, if the salary is greater than 5,000, I have to fail that operation. Okay, so these are some examples. What are the other examples? Stop DML operations on employee tables. And no employee should have a salary greater than president. So similarly, these conditions, we don't have the exceptions for these conditions. So we have to create our own exceptions. Okay, so what are the steps in the exception handling? One thing is declare an exception. we need to declare an exception. Second thing is write exception handler. For user defined exception. And third one is raise the exception. Okay, raise an exception. Exception when a condition happens. Condition happened during the program execution. We need to write an exception handler and we need to write it. So we need to declare an exception we'll declare in the declare section. We will declare an exception in the declare section, and we need to write an exception handler. In which section of the PL SQL block we will write an exception handler? In which section of a PL SQL block we will write an exception handler?
Exception section.
Exception section. We will write an exception in the exception section. Okay. So now in which section of a PL SQL block that exception will be raised? In the begin section. In the begin section, exception will be raised. Okay, see, these are the 3 steps we will see. Okay, we will create an exception for this stop DML operations on employee table. I want to update data into employee table. If it is Sunday or Saturday, so I have to fail that operation. So let's see the set server output on declare begin end. Okay, so the set server output on declare begin end. So now first step is to declare an exception. Declare an exception. How to declare an exception? So it's like a so no DML on weekends. That is the name I'm giving. Weekend. This is my exception name. So the data type is exception. So exception declared. Declared. So now the second step is to write your exception handler. When? So user defined exception, we declared an exception. So then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. So no DML operations during weekends. Weekends. Okay, so now when others, then so we can print the, if any other exception, we can print that information. SQL code I am printing for others, and similarly error message. SQL ERRM. One second. Okay. This is. So now here we need to write a program. Okay, so now I want to update a salary or any delete operation. Let's make it the delete. Delete our simple operation. I want to delete the data from employee table. Okay. So now for a given department number, let's take a declare a department number. Percentage type is equal to ampersand of DEPT number. I'm prompting the department number value from the user. So now I want to delete this operation. delete from employee where department number is equal to department number. So we department number. So now if SQL percentage row count after deleting, just I want to check it. SQL percentage row count greater than 0. So then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line records deleted from employee table. EMP table. This is the table I'm executing. Okay, so now I'm committing that operation. If any exception is there, print that message and roll back. Any exception, print that message and roll back. Okay, so now what I want to do, right? So before deleting the data, I need to check today's date, whether it is a Sunday or Saturday. So how do you know whether it is a today is Sunday or Saturday? So what is the function you will use for getting the today's day? System date. So how do you get it? Using the system date, we can check it. Okay, how do you get it? V underscore day. So can you finish the anything code? Finish it. So I want to know the today's date. So how do you know the today's date? What is the today's day? Whether it is a Sunday or Saturday? How do you know? If it is a select system date from DL, we will be getting the complete date, right? But how do you know whether it is a Sunday or Saturday? See, the system date is giving 6 June 15, but what is the Sunday or Saturday? How do you know? No, it's not a trunk. Others. So how do you know whether today is? No, it's not next day. How do you know that today's day? Others, please. Rajkumar, Sunanda, Shweta, try it. I want to know the today's day. See, that will give you the next day of. But what about the Sunday? Here you are giving only for the Saturday. What about the Sunday? Yes. To care of system date comma day. To care of system date comma day. So it will give you either it is a Saturday or Sunday. This is okay. So now see here it is giving the spaces. Just I want to truncate. Trim of system date comma day. Why I used the trim? Because toChar function is giving the spaces. See here, I have some spaces here. Okay, so here, whenever you copy the data, this one, see, I have the space. If I copy here, see here, this is the spaces we have. So I don't want the spaces to be comparison. That's why I deleted the using the trim function. So trim of toChar of system date comma day into v underscore day from here. So if v underscore day is equal to Saturday or v underscore day is equal to Sunday, so then we need to raise an exception. Raise no DML on EMP weekend. This is the exception I'm raising. And else delete that operation. Okay. So thing is, first I declared an exception. Okay, I'm checking a condition for which I need to raise an exception. I'm raising that exception. So I'm deleting the data from table, and this is the data. Let's see. Department number I'm giving 20. And here it is the, sorry, I'll explain that one minute. And I will explain that program in 1 second. Okay, so now I'm giving the department number 20. It displays the no DML operations during the weekend. So that means, so I stopped that execution of that command. Okay, so now everybody is clear. So from this statement, I'm getting the today's day, whether it is the Sunday or Monday or Saturday or anything. So based on the Saturday or Sunday, I'm raising this exception. If it is not equal to Saturday or Sunday, I'll do the delete operation. Similarly, we can raise a exception for other conditions also. The only thing is, every exception associated to a condition, we need to check for that condition. If that condition happen, we need to raise that exception. When a condition happen, we need to raise that an exception. That's it. Everybody is clear about this one? Yes or no, please? Sometimes we have to create an exception. First thing is to declare an exception. We need to write in a handler and we need to raise. So for raising that an exception, we need to know the condition for which we have to raise an exception. So the condition here is to this one. So the Sunday or Saturday. Okay. So now the second one is to no employee should have a salary greater than the president's salary. Okay. So now, so had asked why I need to use a trim. Okay, let's see. So let's check this one without a trim. Without a trim, I got this information. So now let's see the day. Here we got the data. See, I have a space here. Let's see. Length of this one. Okay. So I'm checking this condition. See here, the Saturday 9 characters. Saturday 9 characters. Okay, do we have a 9 in Saturday? No, we don't have 9 in Saturday. Okay, Saturday how many characters we have? 3, 6 to 8 only. I have a 1 extra space. Okay, I cannot compare this whole with Saturday because the space, I have an extra space. Okay, so but the total number of characters we got is 9. Total is 8, but we have 9 because we have a space here. Okay, the space included. So I cannot compare this with Saturday. So that's why I need to remove that space. In order to remove that space, I need to use a trim function. I need to use a trim. Trim removes the extra spaces on both sides of the strings. Okay, everybody? Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please? Everything is clear about the user-defined exception. Please let me know. The usage of user-defined exception is very less because only in like a 10 to 15% we will use the exceptions, but most of the times we will go with the predefined exceptions. Anybody have any doubts one by one before going into the another topic? Thing is, we need to declare an exception, we need to raise an exception, we need to write a handler to that exception. So the one thing is, so we have to do this explicitly. Whereas for the predefined exception, we don't have to do all these steps because for the predefined exceptions, we don't need to declare it, we don't need to raise it. So those exceptions are automatically maintained by Oracle. Anybody have any doubts, please? Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please? Okay, so everybody is not, no issues. Super. Now I want to give you one assignment to everything. Okay, now write a program for, okay, for checking. Write a program for stopping DML operations on employee table, DML operations on employee table with salary greater than CEO's salary, president's salary. Okay, whenever you are trying with any operation, it can be an insert operation or update operation or anything. Okay, so whenever you are trying to insert the data, whenever you are trying to update or delete, okay, if the salary is greater than president's salary, so then you have to stop it here. So this is the program you need to write. Write a program for stopping the DML operations on employee table with a salary greater than president's salary. Okay, everybody is clear this program. The next assignment is one small 5 minutes concept in exception called as a pragma exception init. This is only 5 minutes concept. Pragma exception init. What is this and why we will use this? Why we need to use this? This is only 5 minutes topic on exceptions. Okay, so what is pragma exception init and why we need to use this? So this is the concept you have to study on your own. Definitely I will cover in the next class, but I want to try. So how many people can read this one and the importance? Okay, so I want to try. So how many people will read this for tomorrow's class? What is pragma exception init? What is this and why we have to use this? This is only 5 minutes concept that we'll discuss in the next class, but I want everybody to study it. Okay, so we need to write a program for stopping the DML operations on employee table with the salaries greater than president's salary. That means if anybody trying to insert or update the salary of an employee table, if you give a salary greater than 5,000, that should fail. Okay, everything is clear, everybody? Yes or no? Okay. So now we have seen the so far PL/SQL introduction, PL/SQL variables, and we have seen the PL/SQL block types and control structures. Exceptions and cursors. What else we discussed in? Okay, and then using SQL in PL/SQL. Using SQL in PL/SQL. So these are the topics we have completed so far. Okay. Anybody have any doubts in any one of this topic? Anybody have any doubts so far? Please let me know. Anybody have any doubts? Please? No doubts? Okay. Super. What are the two types of PL/SQL blocks? How many types of PL/SQL blocks are there? How many types of PL/SQL blocks are there?
Anonymous block and named block.
Anonymous block, two types of blocks. Two types of PL/SQL blocks. One is anonymous and the second one is the named PL/SQL block. Okay, which one is going to store in the database and which one is not? Anonymous block stores in the database permanently, yes or no? Anonymous block stores in the database. No. Okay, which one stores in the, yes, the named PL SQL block stores in the named PL SQL block stores in database permanently. We have seen that one. Okay, so we are going to see a topic called as a PL SQL program units. Program units or PL SQL subprograms. Anything is same name, either program unit or PL SQL subprogram. So we are going to see this PL SQL program units or PL SQL subprograms. Okay, so these are, it can be any name. I can use a PL SQL program unit or I can use the PL SQL program subprogram. Okay, so these are a named PL SQL blocks. If anybody asks you what is the subprogram is a named PL SQL block. It stores in database permanently. Until we drop. Okay, once we create it, we can use it any number of times. Once we created a subprogram in database. Program in database, we can use it any number of times. Okay, once we create a subprogram in the database, we can use it any number of times. These are named PL SQL blocks, stores in the database permanently until we drop it. Okay, so that means those objects, it's a PL SQL block only, nothing else. Okay, PL SQL, whatever we have seen this so far, so those are anonymous PL SQL blocks. These are also PL SQL blocks but stores in the database. Okay, once we create a subprogram in the database, we can use it any number of times. So you can use it means we can execute it. We can execute, that using means execute. We can execute it any number of times. Okay, so now those are stores in the database. What are the types of subprograms? What are the types of subprograms? The types of subprograms are procedures, functions, triggers. And fourth one is packages. Procedures, functions, triggers and the packages. Those are the PL SQL subprograms. This is very, very important. Okay, and procedures, functions, packages and the triggers. So those are the named PL SQL blocks. So the name of a subprogram is unique. So I cannot give a procedure and function with the same name. I cannot. The name of the subprogram is unique. So that means, so in the same schema, we cannot have the two objects with the same name. The name of the subprogram is unique. So that means I cannot create two procedures with the same name. Okay, first of all, what is the advantage of these procedures? What are the advantages? Why we have to create a procedures, functions and everything. So the first one is advantages. We have already discussed that in the first class. Okay, the first thing is modularity. Okay, and the second one is code reusability. And third one is performance improvement. So these are the basic advantages of the procedure. These are the basic. We have so many, those are not that much important. But modularity, code reusability and performance improvement. So these are the basic advantages of a subprogram. Modularity, code reusability and the performance improvement. What is the meaning of modularity? Modularity means we can improve the speed of the development. We can divide a big program into smaller programs. If we divide a big program into smaller programs, so those small programs can be developed parallelly. So instead of one person developing the complete program, instead of one person developing the complete program, so 3 or 4 persons can develop the same program by dividing that into different modules. So each module can be developed parallelly. So that means, so if one person takes the 5 days, 3 persons can finish it in 2 days. So that means the speed of the development. Modularity means we can divide a program into small modules and we can improve the performance of that, speed of the development. Everybody is clear? So the modularity, yes or no please? What is the modularity means? Dividing a program into smaller programs, and that smaller programs can be developed parallelly. And the second thing is code reusability. That means if I create a function for one requirement, if other person want the function for the same requirement, he don't need to recreate it. He can reuse my code. So that means we can reuse a function, we can reuse a procedure, or we can reuse a package. That means no need to develop, no need to redevelop again, because we have already created a function or a procedure for one requirement. If another requirement is also exactly same as this one, we can reuse that function, we can reuse. So the code reusability. And performance improvement. Performance improvement means once we create a subprogram in the database, we can use it any number of times for the subsequent number of times. So once we create it, it stores in the database in a compiled form. Once we create a subprogram in the database, it stores in the database in a compiled form. So the next time onward, it's only execution. No need to compile every time. No need to compile every time, because we have already have a procedure in the database with a compiled form. We don't need to recompile it again and again. We can directly just execute it. So what will happen here? So we don't need a time for recompiling. So we can reuse it, we can re-execute it, only runtime only. So the compilation time not required. That's why we can improve the performance. Modularity and code reusability and performance improvement. Everybody is clear? Yes or no means yes. Let's see. So what are the steps in the program design? Subprograms, what are the steps? Steps for the subprograms. First thing is we need to create it. We need to create subprogram. Please note down each and every point. We need to create a subprogram. So once creation is done, we need to create a subprogram without any errors. That is very important. Without any errors. Okay, so once a creation is done, we can execute it any number of times. That means execution means we can invoke it, we can call it, we can execute that function. Okay, execution of a subprogram can be done by calling it. Okay, so these are the two steps. Once we create a subprogram without any errors, this is very important, without any errors. Okay, and once creation is done, we can execute it. Okay, so let's see. So what are the types of the subprograms we have? Procedures, functions, and triggers, and packages. Okay, let's see. So procedures, functions, packages, and triggers. Okay, so subprograms may or may not accept parameters. So that means we can, during the creation, we can create a subprogram with or without parameters. During the creation itself, subprogram may or may not accept a parameter. That means during the creation we can specify a parameters or not. During the creation we can specify parameters. Parameters or not. So parameters. Okay, parameters are of optional and mandatory. Parameters to procedures subprogram are optional and are mandatory. Okay, during the subprogram call, during the subprogram execution, we need to provide values to all mandatory parameters. Optional parameters we don't need to pass. So during this creation, during this first step, we can create a subprogram with or without parameters. If a subprogram contains a parameters, compulsory those parameters needs to be, the values to the parameter needs to be passed during this. Once a creation is done, we can execute it any number of times. During the subprogram execution, we need to provide values to all mandatory parameters. Okay, so during the subprogram execution, we need to provide a values to all mandatory parameters. Okay, everybody. So we need to create a subprogram with or without any error. So once a creation is done, we can execute it any number of times. Subprograms may or may not accept the parameters. Okay, and we can create during the parameter. So we can create a subprogram parameters with the parameters. If a subprogram is the mandatory parameter, then compulsory we have to provide a value during the call. So whenever you are calling a procedure, whenever you are calling a function, we are going to pass a parameter. We need to execute it any number of times. So the execution means we have to invoke it. We have to invoke it. Okay, during the subprogram execution, we need to provide a values to all parameters. We have these four. Let's see one by one. So the procedure create with or without parameters. We can create with or without parameters. Okay, so we need to call procedure explicitly for execution. We need to call procedure for explicitly for execution. So here is, so we are creating, so that means the procedure need a parameters with or without parameters. So if you want to execute a procedure, we need to call the procedure. We need to call a procedure. If we don't call a procedure, the code associated to the procedure never executes. If we don't call a subprogram, see, so we can create it, but the second step is not required. I don't want to call the procedure, or I don't want to call a function. I don't want to call a package. I don't want to call a trigger. So as long as you are not calling, so the code associated to the subprogram will never execute it. Whenever you want to execute it, we need to call it and we need to pass the parameters. Okay. So now this one. So the function also the same thing. We can I create with or without parameters. Okay, function returns a value. So function returns a value. So here I am not saying procedure returns a value, because procedure does not return a value. Procedure does not return a value. Does not return a value. Okay, so this is the we need to call. We need to call. From where we are going to call, we will see that one. Okay, we need to call function explicitly for execution. Without calling a function, the code associated to the function will not execute. Okay, so the package. So the package is Package is a collection of procedures, functions and variables. Functions and variables. Collection of procedures, functions and variables. So the package is not a code itself. The package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions. Package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions and variables. So here the package is not a part of a package. So this procedure is not a part of package. This function is not a part of package. So now here package. So instead of writing individual procedures and functions, I can combine all procedures and functions into a single unit, which is nothing but a package. The package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions of a variables. Okay, so procedures and functions. So the same, whatever rules we have here for the procedures and functions, the same will apply in the package also. The packaged procedure. Package. So if you want to call a procedure of a package, so we cannot execute a package alone. We cannot execute a package itself. So we have to execute a procedure inside a package, or we have to execute a function inside a package. We cannot execute whole package at a time, because we have to invoke a procedure or a function. The package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions and variables. That variable can be anything. Okay, and we cannot execute a package on its own. So we have to execute a procedure of a package or a function of a package, because package is a collection. On its own. So we have to call a procedure or a function of a package. Procedure or a function of a package. We have to call a procedure or function of a package. So that means, so we have to invoke. So the procedures and functions accept a parameter. So whenever we are calling a procedure and functions, we have to package. So the package is a collection of procedures and functions. We cannot execute a package on its own. We have to call a procedure or a function of a package. So what is a trigger? Trigger is a named PL/SQL block. Procedure is also named PL/SQL block. Function is also named PL/SQL block, and packages is also named PL/SQL block. So the trigger is also a named PL/SQL block. So the trigger associated to a particular event. Trigger associated to a particular event. We will see that one more class on the 2 classes on the triggers. Trigger associated to particular event. Okay, so that event can be a, for example, that event can be a inserting data into table. Is one example. Okay, so updating data of a table. And creating a table itself. So that means, so these are the events. Okay, whenever that event happened, automatically trigger code is executed. Okay, so whenever that event happened, in the database, so then Oracle automatically executes the trigger. So we don't need to execute a trigger explicitly. See here I'm saying we have to call a procedure. Here I'm saying we have to call a function. Here I'm saying we have to call a procedure. But a trigger, we don't need to call a trigger explicitly. We never ever call a trigger, because trigger associated to a particular event. Whenever that event happens, so the trigger is going to execute. Whenever that event happens, the trigger automatically executes. Okay, everybody. So that's a be careful. Okay, so now the procedure. So what is a procedure? Procedure is a named PL SQL block. What is a function? Okay, procedure does not return a value and function returns a value. What is the difference between procedure and a function? Okay, procedure does not return a value and function returns a value. Okay, when we will create a procedure and when we will create a function, we will see that one. Okay, I will see in an example. Okay, the basic thing difference between procedure and function is, so procedure does not return a value and function returns a value. Okay, when we will create a procedure and when we will create a function. Let's see two examples. I have two examples. So one thing is insert a record into employee table. Insert a record into EMP table. Second thing is find whether a given employee is available or not. Available or not. And third one is to copy the data into multiple tables. Copy data from employee table to EMP underscore 10 comma EMP underscore 20 and EMP others table. Others table. And find total salary of employee table. Of employee table. So we need to find a total salary of employee table. Okay, so for inserting record into table, for finding whether a given employee is available in the table or not, so we need to copy the data from employee table to these tables and find total salary of a employee table. Okay, so this one, what it is doing, is it computing a value or it is doing some operation on the database? What an insert operation is doing? So is it doing some calculation or is it doing some operation? It is not the inserting data. It's an operation. It is not inserting any, sorry, it is not calculating any value. It is inserting a data. So whenever you are doing a particular operation, particular task, we will go with a procedure. Okay, so procedure will be created. Procedures is most useful. Will be created for doing a certain operation or a task on database. Operation or task on the database. So I want to do a certain task. For example, let's say, okay, copy the data from employee table to these three tables. So which one is the better here? So here I'm doing any calculation or doing some task. So here I'm doing some task. What is the task I'm doing? So that is nothing but a copying data from employee table to EMP10, EMP20 and EMP others. I'm splitting the data without any calculation. So here we'll go with a, this is, in this case we'll go with the procedure, and in this case we'll go with a procedure. This is the, okay, so now, so here I'm finding whether a given employee is available or not. So here I'm getting some value, either true or false. I'm getting it's a true or false. That means employee is available in the table, yes or no. So here I'll go with a function. So because function returns a value, function returns a value. So the function will be used. Functions will be used, created for computing some value. Some value or to find some results, or two results. See here, find total salary of an employee table. So that means I want to find a total salary. That's the function. Here is a function. Okay, so these are the examples. So when, so the package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions. There is no specific the requirement for the packages. Okay, so only procedures and function. Once we create a procedures and function, we will club all procedures and all functions into a package. And the trigger is not anything associated to a values, but the trigger is associated to an event. What is that event? Inserting data into table, updating the data of a table. Here I'm not calculating the salary. Okay, so now I want to do automatically executes the trigger. Oracle automatically executes a trigger whenever a certain event happened. Whenever that event happened in the database, so then Oracle automatically executes the trigger. Okay, everybody. Anybody have any doubts, please? So when we will go with the procedure, when we will go with the function, and then what is the package? The package is nothing but a collection of procedures, functions, and the variables. Why we have to create a package? We will see in the next class. Packages has an advantage. Okay, trigger is not related to procedures and function because trigger is a automatically executes and associated to an event. Okay, everybody, procedures. Okay, so procedures we need to explicitly call. A function we need to explicitly call, and a function returns a value. Package, so package we cannot execute a package on its own. So we have to call a procedure or a function of a package for execution. And trigger, we never ever execute a trigger explicitly because trigger executes automatically. Okay, and we can create a procedure or we can create a procedure or a function with or without parameters. We can create a procedure or a function with or without parameters. Anybody have any doubts, please? Okay, so now procedure will be created. Created with create or replace procedure name syntax. So how do you create a procedure? Procedure will be created with the create or replace procedure name command. So for creating a procedure, we will create or replace procedure name command. Okay, so now here for creating a function, create or replace a function name. Command. So create or replace procedure name will be done with this one. So the package, similarly create or replace package name. Package name and create or replace package body package name. We will see this in next class. Don't worry about this one. Package name commands. Command. So the trigger will be created with the create or replace trigger name command. Command. See here. So how do you create a procedure? So create or replace procedure name. Create or replace function name. And package created with a package body and a package, because here the package contains two parts. This is for package specification. We will see in the next class. Okay, create or replace procedure name. Okay, so the drop procedure name is for dropping a procedure. Commands. Drop procedure name. dropping a procedure. This is the drop procedure name. And drop function name. Please note down these commands. Very important. Is for dropping a function. Dropping a function. So the drop procedure name for a function. And similarly, the drop package name. Package name. And drop package body. Package name is for dropping a package. And drop trigger name. Drop trigger name is for dropping a trigger. So create or replace. Procedure is for dropping a procedure, and function is for dropping a function, and a package is for drop a package body. Trigger is to drop a trigger name. Drop trigger name. Is everybody clear, or anybody have any doubts in the so far? Please let me know. Okay, so please note down this. So a procedure, because see, once a procedure created, yeah, somebody saying something.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you said procedure does not return a value.
Yes.
But we can do that by out parameter, right?
That's not a return a value. That's a exchanging a value. Don't say that is a returns a value. Procedure, it passes the values from calling to calling environment with the help of out parameter.
Okay.
Okay. Function explicitly return a value with the return keyword. If you don't have a return keyword, function returns an error.
Okay.
Procedure passes a value. That we will see. Out parameter is to exchange values from a calling environment to a procedure. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
A procedure will be created with the drop and procedure. A procedure can be called. See, once a procedure created or once a function created, we have to explicitly call that one. Okay. A procedure can be called. See, without calling a procedure, it won't execute it. Procedure can be called from another procedure. Okay, another function. We can call a procedure from another function. We can call a procedure from anonymous block. Or we can call a procedure from any Java language. From any language. Like Java or C++, okay, or .NET. We can call a procedure from anywhere. Okay, similarly, a function can be called. A function can be called from another procedure. We can call a function from procedure. We can call a function from function. We can call a function from PL/SQL. We can call for a function from language. And explicitly, a function can be called from a select statement, SQL. Called from SQL. So that means a function can be called from a select language, select command. A function can be called from a select. A function can be called from a SQL. A function can be called from a insert. Okay, that's fine. So procedure, package. We cannot call a package alone. So we have to call the package procedure. So the same thing. We can call from any procedure. A package procedure can be called from a procedure. Package function can be called from a function. Okay, so the package is nothing but a collection of procedures and if you know how to call a function and a procedure, we can call a procedure and package of a, sorry, if you know from where we can call a function or a procedure. So we can call a package procedure, can call a package function. That means if a procedure is a part of a package, so that can be called from another procedure, another function, another package or anywhere. Okay, everybody is a clear. Say this is the package is nothing but a collection of procedures and functions. There is no any additional concept for the packages. Now the trigger, we never ever call a trigger explicitly. We never ever call it trigger the explicitly, because the trigger executes automatically. Okay, so now everybody is clear? Everybody is clear? Okay, so now here I'm going. So the procedure created or program created, subprogram created. Subprogram created. What is the meaning of created? Okay, so subprogram created means it's a created, it's a compiled version. Means a procedure or a function. So the subprogram successfully stored in a database without any errors. Means a subprogram created successfully in database without any errors. Any errors. Okay, once a created means, so it's ready to execute. Ready to execute. Okay, so the subprogram created means stored in database successfully without any error. That is very important. Without any errors, and that is ready to execute a subprogram. Okay, let's see. So a program created. First step is the program created. What are the two steps we have? We need to create a subprogram, and once a creation is done, we can execute it any number of times. Okay, so a program, we have a program, subprogram. We need to call it. We need to call it. Okay, we need to call it. So subprogram is there and we need to call. So how can we call? We can call from another procedure. We can call from a function. We can call from anywhere. Okay, the program. Okay, here I'm showing the two words, two terminologies, and a called program and a calling program. Called program and a calling program. So called program, so the calling program. Calling program means from where we are calling a subprogram. From where we are calling a subprogram. Subprogram. So that means that is the from where we are calling. And here actual program, what is going to execute. What it is going to execute whenever you call. So here we see this is the two important terminologies. So the called program and calling program. Okay, during the calling we need to pass a parameter values to call program. So during the calling we need to pass a values to parameters. That is, from the calling program we need to pass a values to parameters. These are very important for tomorrow's class. Values to call program. So that means a procedure created with parameter. But how do you pass parameters to it? So the parameters will be passed during the calling. During the calling. So procedure name. Everybody is clear. So the called program and calling program. What is meaning of a called program? Called program means what is the exactly code it is going to execute. What code it is going to execute in the database. So the calling program means the program from where we are calling a subprogram. From where we are calling. From where we are executing a subprogram. And during the calling, we need to pass the values to call program and calling program. During the calling, we need to pass the values to call program. Anybody have any doubts? Yes or no, please? Okay, let's see a syntax of a procedure creation. Today we will finish the syntaxes, and tomorrow we will see the examples of procedures and functions. Syntax of procedures. Create or replace procedure name. Procedure name with optional parameter 1 within optional in out in out. So we will see this, what is in out and in out. In out data type 1, data type and any optional default value. This is the one parameter. The complete definition of a parameter is one parameter. Okay, so the parameter, what is this in out and in out, that I'll explain. So the data type and default value, if any. And similarly the second parameter, parameter 2, we can have any number of parameters. We can have any number of parameters. Parameters, entire parameters is optional. Okay, is or as. Here we will declare all variables. Variables for procedure. It's like a similar to our declare section. Begin. Here is the executable code. And exception section. Exception section is optional because similar. This is the name PL SQL block only, but with a name. That's it. So the only difference between earlier block and this one is here we are going to have a declare. See, declare. That's it. Okay, but in a procedure we are going to have this one. Okay, this is the syntax of a procedures. So create or replace procedure name, parameter any name, what is in, what is out, and what is in out. In out and in out are called as a parameter modes. In out and in out are called as parameter modes. Parameter modes, it describes the behavior of a parameter between called program and calling program. So mode describes the behavior of parameter between called program and calling program. Called program means actual procedure code, and a calling program. Okay, so actual called program and a calling program. So in out and in out are called as a parameter modes, which describes the behavior of parameter between called program and calling program. Called program means this is your actual code. This is the code which is going to execute. This is the code it is going to execute. And calling program means this is the from where we are calling the parameter. We will see what is in out and in out in the next section. Okay, so now we will see a function syntax. Function. Create or replace a function name. Please note down this syntax. Function name. So here there is no in out and in out. So here we have to explicitly return data type, because a function returns a value, specifies this return clause. Return specify the type of data what we are returning. Okay, so here begin, at the end, in the begin compulsory we have to return value, because if you don't return a value in a function, it gives an error. If we don't return a value in the function, it returns an value error. So compulsory we have to return. So here parameter modes are not there for these functions. Okay, tomorrow we will see the examples of procedures and functions, then we will start a packages. Everybody is clear? Anybody note down? Everybody note down these concepts and everything. These concepts are very much important for tomorrow's class. And one thing is, please remind or please refresh all your skills whatever we have so far, because see, the only difference between yesterday's program and today's program is here. So the declare and a calling program, but here is the same. Insert, cursors, exception handling, for loops, update, delete, and everything is same. Only thing is, first we need to create a function and we need to call it. We will concentrate more on the calling part, not on this one. So here you have to write the code for procedures and function for all assignments. Okay, everybody is clear? Anybody have any doubts, please? Complete notes or only the notes whatever we have today? Okay, I will send the complete notes. Please note down these notes and please go through it. Tomorrow we are going, yes, tomorrow we will have a class at same time. Is okay to everybody? Same time is okay to everybody? Yes. Okay, tomorrow we have a class at the same time, 6:30 to 8 or 6:30 to 8:30. That depends upon how we are proceeding. Okay, sir. I hope everybody understands, and please let me know if you have any doubts. Please go through it. And I have given the two assignments. One is write a program, and the second one is to what is a pragma exception in it. I want everybody to spend at least half an hour. Spend it on the Google. You will get this description. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye.